to Wisdom with Wiebke. This season, we're diving into personal awakening stories, real journeys of transformation, from struggle to self-awareness. These voices reflect our own potential for growth and healing. If you know someone with a powerful story to share, reach out. We're building this community together. Now let's begin today's journey. Welcome to a new episode for Wisdom with Wiebke. And today I have Chidhart with me. And we know each other for a long time now, without having ever spoken to each other. And we spoke the first time I really spoke to each other in Phoenix. And before we crossed paths in Canada a while ago, where I saw him and he asked a question to Eckhart Tolle on a retreat. And I thought, wow, this man is really, I admire him and he's very inspiring. I have to talk to him. But for some reason, I didn't. And then I saw him another time in Huntington Beach on another retreat. And again, he was in my group and we had a group discussion. And I thought, wow, this man is so cool. And it's so nice to hear his story now and how he evolved. And again, I thought, oh, I need to talk to him. But for some reason, I didn't. I think maybe I said hi or so. And then our path crossed again in Phoenix at another Eckhart Tolle retreat. And I said hi. And then we had this, there was the opportunity. We both were at a lunch or so. And I was like, okay, today I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to ask him if he wants to be on my podcast. So it's a long time now that I thought I need to have a talk with him. I need to talk about his story. I want to share his story. And I'm so glad to have you here. And yeah, welcome again. Please feel free to introduce yourself a little bit as well. So glad to have you here.
Thank you for your welcome. Thank you. Hi, and my name is Chidhart, and it's lovely to meeting you. And it's good it's happening. It's good it's happening now. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for being here. And maybe just a little bit of background for the listeners of who you are and how you got into Eckhart teachings, but also a little bit of sharing your story with the listeners. And to make it a bit easier of where to start, I just listened again to the question you asked Eckhart a while ago in Canada. And I thought what was very fascinating is the build-up, kind of how you got to the transformation and kind of to the little awakening or maybe big awakening. And so maybe you can walk us through what happened before, what kind of person were you before the big awakening happened?
Yes. I think that that period where what I was talking to Eckhart about, I think the question was, I can't properly remember. Maybe I was 30, in my 30s, and now I'm 34. It's 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And then it was a period of time where it's a long story, but it's like how you can, how I felt it. Like, I just felt like you go through a life, before, I was brought up in Sri Lanka. Not brought up in Sri Lanka, but I was born in Sri Lanka until 10. And then I came to Denmark. And then I'm in Denmark since then until now. And I think there is two ways for people's awakening kind of that helps people. One is the suffering part, that we suffer. And the other is that you get whatever you want and you kind of reach your goals and you think the fulfillment is out there and all those things. And I think in one point in my life, both actually, I was extremely, I had both those journeys, but the suffering journey I had since I was very little. So it's like, father was very violent at that time. And I later, of course, realized that he couldn't act beyond his, and then it's the way he was, and he was completely taken over. So there was a lot of violence since I was born and almost until I was 18. So totally beaten up, and usually also my mom and me and my brother. But then you kind of there's a lot of suffering. So you are kind of also surrendering to that pain when there is that much of when he sometimes take the belt and, like, and do all crazy things. So, and the other part is that you have so deeper questions about life in very early stages. Like, I could remember when I was maybe 11 years when I was in Denmark, I just couldn't figure out what this life was, what I'm doing here, because I felt like, what is happening? Like, everyone is living in their own kind of world. It felt like for me at that time that no one's actually, they cannot see. It's like they are in their own reality kind of thing. And it's almost like I could observe my father, like there, he had these two sides of being very loving, and suddenly something comes and something takes over. It's like a totally different character. So it's like he can explode at whatever, like in one day, there can be periods of maybe 3 times he can explode totally, and there's no control. And he could take whatever he has and then throw it at you or whatever, or my mom. So there was this kind of like suffering. And then the deeper question about what I'm doing here and where is this God? So it's like, I want peace to my, like peace at home. So I want my father not to beat my mom. So I used to brought up in Hindu culture. So we used to pray and all those things. Don't do this Tuesday, blah blah. And yeah, so you try all those things too. And then I go to temples, pray, do all those things as a little child. And some point, yeah, it doesn't really help at home. So I thought maybe some Christian teachings, churches will help. So I went to Jesus and tried to understand what they were saying. And I could maybe be that or something. So he could help or whatever. So I was so open to a lot of things in very early beginning because you suffer so much. And after a point came where not much was happening because there were so many questions in your head, like how will God know that when it's Tuesday you shouldn't eat meat and those kind of things. So I was thinking, okay, the Tuesday is different in Denmark than in Sri Lanka. So maybe I'm not doing this right. So I was going to people and asking, when is the earliest Tuesday in the planet? And they will say maybe it's Australian time or something. So I don't eat meat from Monday to Wednesday and then Thursday to Saturday, all kind of weird things. So yeah, so after a point came, then I didn't feel it helped me. I maybe came to a realization or that time it felt like a realization that I would prefer to say what I know as I know and what I don't know as I don't know. I don't want to believe in anything and just be responsible for our own life and take care, and then don't be harmful for others, and then you just do whatever you want. Kind of that approach I had. And living in the like, and then I felt like the life was just to enjoy, and if you die tomorrow then no problem, kind of just be happy. So I was not a person very much of savings or not even any savings account in my life at all. Even I was in business and all those things. Even I didn't went for owning houses, and I didn't see point in those things. But there was lots of suffering. Like, and I maybe see it now as there is some small awakening periods. I was not completely out of my egoic. It just was there with all those egoic desires, and you want this kind of fascination. You want this kind of more and more. But at one point it changed. So like I took the responsibility when I was maybe, all these things happens early on, like 13, 14 years. Then when I was 18, I told my mom and that, okay, we leave my father and then we take responsibility. So we don't. Yeah. So since then I was into business, and from early on, I was good at somehow understanding that people was living in different realities, kind of, I felt. So I didn't really go, and I could sense people very strongly, like, is it something they share from experience? I was so open to it. And if they just say something, don't do this, and it doesn't sink in. That was kind of a person. I always said, like, I'm not saying there is no God, but I don't know. I haven't seen that. So I can't believe in anything. So I just go by my experience of life and let me experience whatever, and whatever happens, it will happen. But then I had a long period from I was 18 to maybe until and these are the before where I started to talk to Eckhart.
Yeah.
Then I went into business and did all kind of things, became successful, also bankrupt, and all kind of weird things. Owning a big, because you want something bigger and bigger and bigger. But actually, also I was really good at kind of manifesting because I didn't have any fear. So no one could actually like stop you. Kind of, I could always see and use the situation for the better, and then not be harmful for anyone. But if I wanted it, why not go for it? Kind of. So it's almost like I want this. If I imagine something crazy, so I would rather go for it. So whatever is not impossible, I felt like that should be something I should do. And I felt there was some power early on that I don't like those goals like something we are very logical about, something like a child like that. I could remember once I went and played in casino kind of thing, and then I felt like this is a system. I want to be the other side instead. So I want to own. But it actually a lot of things came to reality. But the fulfillment, obviously, it was not there. So it's not like but you still go for the next and making big events and blah blah blah. And then there came a point where I felt like money and all those things, there should be a passive income, and I shouldn't work a lot, and like that kind of mindset. So I could remember I had a goal of something like, I can't remember, maybe 2016 or something, that money should flow in and it should be a system or whatever, so I don't have to work anymore. And I felt like maybe I could travel around all the world, and I felt maybe that's the life, because then you enjoy your life because you have money enough, and then you go and then you enjoy it. So and I told myself maybe 5 years I will achieve somewhere, and I actually told myself I don't want to go out of my house for work, or anyone shouldn't call me. That was my kind of a goal setting that time. But it shouldn't be a business or something I'm doing a harm. I'm always like a person, I could sense others' emotions very well. So I never use other persons for my benefits. If it makes sense for them, then it's fine. But yeah, that was kind of that person. And then it actually also came true. And there was a period of 2 years where I didn't know what to do. And like I traveled around a lot of countries, and 12 countries or something. And then you felt that emptiness, because beforehand you were engaged in something when you were doing, because I never did anything for money. I was very good at like doing only things I really loved. Otherwise, I would not. Or if I don't have money, then I go for work. I don't go for work to make money and then keep it. Those kind of thing, because I felt like it was a waste of my life that time. So I always felt like, why, if I have the money, I just use it, and then if I don't have it one day, I will go and out of work or something like that. So after when I got this, I felt like empty, because you were not engaged anymore in doing this kind of thing, impossible things, and like whatever, like next project. And so you felt like after a point, you felt like, okay, money is coming, that's fine. And maybe it was not like I was very wealthy, but what I asked for was I could live properly in like whatever 5-star hotels, so having a good lifestyle and travel around and spend my money. And I don't want to own or anything. So my goal was not so much. But whatever I asked for, I got it. So I could actually live the lifestyle I wanted that time. And I maybe also that system was so sure that maybe probably not the whole life I could have sustained that way. But then there came a point that I felt so empty, and also a lot of other things also crashed at the same time. One part was the emptiness, that you don't know what is this happiness, what is this life about. You felt so empty when, even though you go out and do all those things, but you felt like, okay, now you have this thing, and then it's properly good, right? Then after a point, you get a point where this feels really empty inside. And but I can explain it well now. That time was a more kind of hesitations, and that there was a kind of a different feeling to that. Maybe also I felt more like a depression that time. But I can explain all those things right better right now. But at that time, it felt like a, and then the relationship begins to collapsed because I couldn't understand what love was. And what are people saying? What is this love? And they are only caring about what they think. But because maybe I was good at always figuring out that, okay, that's how they feel, that's how I feel. But I was never aware of what's going in my own mind because I was still identified with my own mind and whatever it wants. So it was engaged. And suddenly, if it doesn't engage in anything any longer, it just went crazy, I believe. So I felt like there was a kind of restlessness. And still now, I don't know what happened because I was not a person who really wants to go out and go to the nature, not that much. Like, I love nature normally, but not like walking a long distance or no. I love nature, but then I go and sit somewhere in the resort or something like that. And there came a point one Thursday. Yes, I took a decision that I leave all my business, passive income, whatever. And I told my mom and everyone, friends and those, that I'm not sure about I'm coming back. I'm just leaving. But I didn't tell them long because but something inside me, I felt like I was almost ready to die because I was completely tired. And I was like, yeah, everything is done and I don't have any responsibility yet. Now I give all those business and all those things, so I don't have to think of that. And then that Saturday, after 2 days, I just went. I leave telephones, everything, and I had a passport, maybe some 200 euros or something, and then a backpack. And then later, I actually came to know that there was someone, when I searched in Google, I went for this Camino. But that I knew afterwards, after 5 days, that it was a Camino. I thought it was some kind of a forest or something you are going into. So I felt like I just want to go out and I can't explain. I actually don't remember properly because it was so, yeah, so it was and why I did it, although it really felt like there was something taken over. And that choice didn't came from the personal kind of a thing. And it doesn't make sense at all. Even after when I think about that, it's not possible. But then the rest I was telling Eckhart about that I felt after I took that decision. Then I think after maybe 5, 6 days, I felt life in a completely different way. That you felt that divine presence. And that time I actually didn't even know that it was a divine presence. But I felt such aliveness inside me. And there was so many realization in those. I can't remember how many days I spent. Maybe I walked for 900,000 kilometers or something at all. Maybe 30, 35 days around that. But every day there was such a realization every day, and you saw things so different. You saw things so clearly and what's happening within. And there was a lot of things. So you felt that kind of aliveness and that divine presence. So you felt so thankful and grateful and you were so happy. I have never felt that sense that there was such a fullness of it. And maybe also, maybe I was a person before that I would rather do this thing, not this thing. And, like all those things, I don't want to wash my dishes and whatever you can. And in that journey, whatever I accepted, like if I had to do something, wash my dishes or wash my shoes or wash my clothes, when I just did it, there was such aliveness when I just accepted. And the realization came so, I believe, so openly, that gracefully, like that. Then I had a sense that whatever happens, you just accept. And that then the situation somehow it unfolds to the better. Or if it doesn't even unfold, you feel in a different sense. There's aliveness when you accept. So I was like, all that journey, I was almost accepting whatever happens, but outwardly. And later on, I realized that the resistance and acceptance is something we should do inside. And maybe also outside, we can say yes and no. But I was living for almost 2 years in that state that no resistance to anything what's happening outside. So I don't question anything. I'm completely okay with whatever happens. So, but I felt that aliveness. So I somehow I couldn't, because I didn't understand what was happening to me or happening. So I felt that deep aliveness, so I couldn't explain it. So I was like, oh, if I do something fully here, then you feel this aliveness. Then you are fully there. Maybe that is the life energy you felt like. That is the divine. And then you saw all those synchronicities happening. You are thinking of something, blah, blah, blah. And obviously it's not we are thinking, but I'm saying that time it felt like you are thinking something and it's happening. And yeah, and whatever people say, their fear is happening. It's so nice to see. And you also feel like that the whole life is the journey you have to enjoy. And so that there was a kind of a very deep, I believe, the change in the consciousness in that period. It was very radical. But I didn't understand anything at all because I have never been into any spiritual teachings. Or I even, someone was asking something about spiritual, and then I asked, what's the meaning of spiritual? Like, I had no idea of those things. So I couldn't explain anything what happened that time. So it felt like a deep peace. And then when I came back to Denmark, and then it went for a long time that I lost the complete interest on the outer thing. And it was a kind of a disorientation, like Eckhart was saying, like to figuring out, to get that balance out. It took me some years, like to come again and then be in that state and then still engage. And but there was a deep kind of awareness behind. There were still some patterns operating even afterwards, but not that much. But even if it operates, there was some thing behind watching it very clearly. So it dissolved so quickly. So there was some kind of, and that now we come back to your question about how Eckhart's teaching helps, because I remember I really wanted to understand this, because what is happening. So I want to go, and after 2 years, I went to all kind of gurus and teachers and traveled around India and all over the places to understand what was happening.
Yeah, you've been to the Himalayas as well,
Yes,
right?
also that, and all over India, like I met maybe 50 people or something like that, gurus and teachers, spiritual teachers, to understand. And some I could connect with deeper, like that presence kind of I could sense. Some I felt like, oh, that I don't connect totally with. I'm not getting it what you are, and I'm not, because it doesn't happen that way to me with practices and all kind of thing. So I don't see it like mostly that way, but I can see that it helps in some other cases a lot of times also. It's a journey also, but in my cases it doesn't. But then Eckhart, I was like seeing one YouTube video, felt like that's the feeling, and he had it. That was I was searching for kind of. And then he was saying those kind of thing, and whatever he says, like, yes, yes, there was that instant, like, yeah, obviously, yes. Or your mind is not thinking. And actually, that's the point where I actually came to know that my mind is not having so many thoughts any longer. Maybe 80% of the thoughts were gone completely. There was so less thoughts in their mind, but I didn't know. And I just felt like it's peace, and you just drink your tea or go and sit somewhere, and you didn't know that you didn't think, or all those things, what was happening. So all his teaching, I'm so grateful for. It made you understand. And when you understand those things, then you can also like having a good balance, and it helps you in a way. And it deepens. After I came into his teachings, and also I love Lao Tzu, teachings. So I felt those teachings helped me so much, like to deepen and try to understand. And yeah, so that's the thing that time.
Thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable and courageous and sharing your whole story here,
Yeah.
and also letting us understand, or just taking us on that journey with you in how you became or came to understanding yourself. Because people who are maybe in that phase where everything just falls apart right now, they might think like they're in the same position what you just described, as in, okay, what now? Kind of lost, feeling empty. So it's really great to hear you putting words to it, and also sharing that you at that time didn't really know how to feel or what that feeling was, because yeah, I believe that it resonates with others who are in that phase right now, struggling, thinking, okay, what is this? It just feels uncomfortable maybe, and they can't really put words to it because they don't really know how to label the emotions, or they haven't been connected to themselves for a long time. So hearing you talking about this and then how that evolved, as in now you know, okay, this was maybe emptiness because there was so much. I was grasping the next best thing, and then the next higher thing, and I could even achieve more. And then you've achieved everything, and still you didn't feel fulfilled. And what I see a lot in society right now is lots of people have been at that point where you are at, and they actually realize now, oh, that's not it. Now I have everything, and it might be lots of money, or it might be lots of prestige, like lots of stuff around them, what they bought or what they could, as in material things around them, what they thought that once they get it, they will feel fulfilled. And now they wake up to it as then, oh, actually, that's not it. And then you walked us through it as you had that phase where you also weren't clear, why am I even doing this? And to be so courageous and to be so curious as well. I feel you were quite curious, as in you just went with it because there was no other options really you had there. You were just like, okay, this is taking over now, and I'm going to this Camino walk, which I don't even know what this walk is about. So having that trust, I guess, there, and being curious of what life has to offer to us when we just follow those little insight nudges or this intuition or whatever you want to call it. And you truly followed that, and then life presented itself to you in those synchronicities, but also showed you, oh, if I do this more, I feel more alive. If I follow this more, I can feel more alive. You kept following this, which I think is also very admirable, because some people might fear. Then, like, fear takes over again. They're like, oh no, I'm not allowed to feel so good, or is this really the real deal, or whatever. They might question it, you know? So you had a lot of trust in there, I guess, as well, to follow it. And then now you're here, and you got those answers, and you probably have lots of more questions which arise then in the now, every now and then. As you said, you're going to deepen it, and you're going to deepen your practice and deepen the awareness. And what I've experienced is it never really ends anyway. There's always something new coming, and something that life presents ourselves, and then we have another opportunity to deepen ourselves, or maybe to go through a challenge or to other sufferings we haven't dealt with before, because you were talking about kind of the businesses you build and having passive income and all the business, like the money flowing, but then also the relationships. So these areas, they brought you then to this kind of complete hold of everything, and then you went for it. Maybe there are some other areas that haven't been dealt yet with, which come on the way, but now it's much easier because you have only 20% of thoughts anymore. Not so much worry, which is great, right? And you know also how to deal with it better, and you know yourself better. So that's oftentimes where I hear when people ask something like, oh, will it get easier? No and yes, because life is life, and life will come and present all the time all kind of obstacles and struggles and difficulties, but how we handle it. So as you also said, you had to look inside and deal with what comes up inside, and grow that more, not just the outside. And kind of you said something, you allowed it to be, right? Whatever came your way, you kind of allowed it.
It was almost like there was not a resistance. I felt like we are all always kind of resisting whatever happening, because there was some
Yes.
in my system that always don't want that what's actually happening. So at that time, I felt like we are complaining about something is already happened, and that there is a gap between accepting what's already happened, and that gap we actually suffer, and that differs. So why not just accept whatever happens, because it's already happened, and then make the best out of it, and then but yeah,
Yeah, full acceptance,
yes, that there
right?
is a like resistance that you don't resist it within. But now I told you like how it felt that time, but now you have other realizations, or you don't see it that way any longer. But I just tried to maybe in that way. You ask about the story, so I maybe wanted to give you as much as I remember. I don't remember everything, but in how it felt that time. But now there is it's a like that when we don't resist anything, it's already happening, and it's enough factor, like we don't resist it within. So we align with it, whatever it is in front of us. And then there is aliveness to that surrender.
Yeah, surrendering and accepting it.
Surrendering and accepting it, and we almost have different chances. Like we can always surrender. Like if something happens outside, we can say, okay, that's how it is. Or if you react or something, that's also a part of it. You can accept that. And then even the other, we always have that kind of in here now, that choice to always surrender or to accept just now. And I think that's when people go, sometimes we don't understand that thing, is because we think that we should accept the whole thing or the whole situation or the whole person's behavior. Maybe not like that, but it's just that whatever happened is happened because it's already happened.
Yeah, you can't really change it, right? You
Oh,
might
you
as
can't
well
change
accept
something,
it.
it already happened. So, or it's happening. So it's better to just align with it and then see if we can change something, or we can do whatever. If we can do something about it in our control, then we can do something. Otherwise, we have to surrender. It's better than suffer. Otherwise, what will and we will suffer if we don't accept it. So
It's true.
that's a kind of a sense that I feel like it's a daily kind of a practice in whatever small when emotions arises, pain can arise, or whatever. Like there's a lot of situations like presented in front of us to have that kind of like but it's a powerful kind of a thing. It deepens us, and there is a kind of a peacefulness and also aliveness when we do it. And a lot of times the situation also works better out.
True. Yeah, it's like a superpower you can equip yourself with, but I feel you first have to know you have that superpower. Like it's, as you also said, people need to know, oh, actually, that's what I could do. I can simply accept the moment as it is. And then once you have that superpower acknowledged in yourself and you are equipped with it and you act with it, then life can throw all kinds of things at you, but you stay centered, you're peaceful, you're surrendering, you're accepting the moment as it is. And then it still might be sometimes a little bit sad, or it might be a little challenging, but you just move kind of more like through water. You kind of flow more with it instead of you're that wall and the water is just like streaming against it. So yeah, I love that you shared that. And one question that came up with me there was, or that came up for me was, being not really awakened and being maybe at the brink of everything falls apart, and then being more awakened, having Eckhart's teaching. Between those two personas of you, what was the biggest learning or the biggest kind of insight you know now within?
I feel like the act, the identity we have, like me as a person, I went through this and this whole story in a way. What all those things, I also kind of, you still have it, but it's very in the background. You are not like, your identity is not that, and it's not something we can maybe read about that. It's not this separate self, but it's in our experience that we walk like that deeper I, as he calls it, or the presence, that we are the presence. The presence acts through us. So in a way, I feel like it's not like I am trying to accept it, or I'm not trying to accept it, or I'm trying to build some quality of something. I want to be good. I feel like when you align with that, when you make the room, then all the things are the nature. It's the quality of the presence acting through you. Then maybe others you can judge it as it's good or this is very wise and wisdom comes from that space and all those things. But it's like, it's not something you figure out, or you are not, that there is not one person there to judge what's going on. Is it going my way or something like that? Like, so there is not that confusion any longer. And that sometimes takes some time to deepen and to literally make that presence act, and you have that identity for true for yourself in a way. And you more we practice that, in a way we can say that you practice to let yourself make the way, then it becomes more and more true for ourselves in our reality. And that helps us keep moving in that space and to value that. And I feel maybe that's the biggest yeah, and yes, sometimes we can fall back to some old but that's how then you come back again. It's a very subtle process. So it's like, but you more we kind of, I feel it's very powerful way to go out and live the life, and not separating like meditation, spiritual kind of thing in separate thing, but use whatever in our life presenting, because a lot of things it's just in our mind. When you see it in a way that when you, then it becomes real for you. So that there is maybe a gap between, there is something within us recognizing, yes, there is something in these teachings or this depth, because there's something in us calling for it. But then that there is some point when you actually see it, or how can you say it? You experience it.
Yeah.
Like it's actually happening inside, whatever you can say about all those things, right? So it should be in our own experience, and go by whatever we experience, and that helps. Yeah, I felt, yeah, maybe that you could say that is a difference. Yeah.
Thank you. And I know I asked you such a difficult question to explain with words. Like, okay, so what's
It's hard
presence?
to some kind of remember those kind of thing, but you some kind of you try to, yes.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I love the analogy of opening a room, like making room for it, for
Yeah.
that what is already there, but we sometimes forget or get out of it, and we have that room so it can grow and make more room and take more space and take more space, and so that at some point it's always there with us, even though we've maybe fall in and fall out of it, but we can rely on it and it's there and we can trust and it becomes our truth. I like how you said that it becomes our truth and we have to find our own truth in a way, even though it is the truth, but it's a different way of how everyone connects with it, I guess. Yeah. So great. And you already you gave so much advice or kind of what you practice and how people can do it. So maybe some, if you want to share and if you feel like it, some things people can do who maybe on the path, or maybe they're in this in between and they struggle a little bit. What is it that they could do to maybe, I don't like to say lighten the load, but move through it more easily, some kind of practice that might help them go and move through the suffering more easily, or even just like a little reminder when they fall out, this, you've already have been there and you've experienced presence, but then you fall back into mindless thinking and moving back in. So I gave you some options there. Pick whatever comes for you right now, what you think might be useful, and I'd love to hear that from you.
I actually see it like there is to break things down. It sometimes helps to become very practical. So it's not in something abstract in our mind that we speak of something, but it's like, say we suffer, yes, how the suffering arises is like we engage in the thought process and the egoic identification. But then to actually like in like whatever, because there is a sense that is resisting all the time. So it's almost like whenever we feel that we align with whatever happens. So like we make room for, or the space for whatever happens, and we align with that. And we make it a living practice. And maybe also, that there is some other practices like when we do something, it shouldn't mean to an end, but it's actually like a small things. Like if I really want to do something quickly before this Zoom meeting or whatever, but don't hurry in that sense. So you just be fully, and you can do it faster also, but in the beginning to do, because when we do the smaller things and then with more attention and more presence, kind of, then we can handle little larger. It cannot be handled like we cannot, maybe sometimes we cannot handle a big challenge with it can take us over, but we can start from a very smaller thing, and then it can grow in us. I almost sometimes feel like the more we kind of practice it or we living it, then it's like a muscles kind of. It can it so the power within can grow, so it can tolerate more and more. And but then the whole thing, whatever happens to us, it's actually a practice. So everything becomes a kind of a spiritual practice, one could say.
Yeah, I like that. And I love also like you don't need to hurry. How Eckhart always says, "Hurry slowly." And sometimes I say that to my friends as well when they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll be there quickly." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, hurry slowly," you know.
Yeah.
And the more you say it, as you said, it's like a muscle that we can train in our wherever you want to put it. If you want to explain it to someone, you could say it's a muscle in the brain that you have to train. That you, for example, if you take this glass of water and you put it and you want to drink something, become really present with that glass of water, right? So you don't have to chuck it down in a hurry because you need to go somewhere. That's really being this mindless person again. But drink it slowly, hurry slowly. I love that. And also like that it's a really good practice, I feel, for everyone, wherever they are in their journey, because it's a great little reminder for people who might have fallen out a little bit, that even in the tiniest thing, even when I put my lip balm on or whatever, then I can be mindful or I can be present with that, right? Or opening the door or all these little things. And that could be my little reminder every day to slow down. But then it can also be very helpful for people who are in the suffering state, like lots of suffering for them right now, or being in this kind of in-between state. Because yeah, everything you connect with deeply will give you that aliveness. Love that.
Yeah, maybe we could say, for if someone is seeing this and they really suffer, like, and things like, and the body is almost like reflection of whatever our mind says. So I think the most important thing is to actually be aware most as much as we can of what our inner voice is saying.
Yeah.
So it's that there is always a little stories we see the reality through and identify without knowing it in a way. So it's like to get this, to be very vigilant kind of in it within, and then really see these small stories. Like, that's interesting. Like make it as a fun, experience. Like why I'm saying this like that, like, or, and then we can get the attention to our breathing, and then so we cut the link whenever we feel very painful. So we just go and feel that sensation properly. So it helps. So we come into that state. So it's like more like, okay, we accept. It's kind of also accept that we are feeling this right now, or we have some pain, and that is okay. Sometimes I have that feeling when something, if it's arise. I could remember for 3 years ago, when I came back, if there was still something happening, like it could still arise, emotions, some pains, and I felt almost like kissing the emotion. It's almost like kissing the thought. You don't, there is not that person who don't want that to happen. There is not such feeling as I want to get rid of this. That's also a part of life, and that's also beautiful. And then there is a kind of a magic happens when you actually like are so gentle with it. And then sometimes it quickly dissolves. And maybe it takes longer time also. It can differ, but it's to be gentle with whatever happens, be sensitive, and it's okay. So it's a part of, it's actually not the thing is outside that we have to accept. It's actually within also, like whatever arises within, that we allow it to be.
Yeah.
And that will be a very big yeah, and it's a small thing. And also sometimes then we can have this kind of inner voice saying, now we know that we should do it, and then why didn't you do that, and all kind of that story can go on in the mind, right? But still, that's also fine, that's also part of it. And we just bring that attention to here and now. Okay, that's fine. And then if this happens again, then it will be maybe that. It's also to not be as, sometimes we feel like the thing should be like radical all the time. Like now I have experienced this, or now I know this is real. Like this is good for me. So now I want to change it. So I feel like to be a little gentle, to open and have a little compassion for ourselves, or for the patterns we're operating, because it's not completely personal. So it's like to allow it. So it's like, okay, so I could remember sometimes when I came back, and then there could be some pulling towards some old habits. And I never drop it, like, I don't do this any longer. I just went for it, but little slower. And then it gradually, maybe, like the first time it gets over, but then it's gradual. Maybe the sixth time is completely, it's not there. You can feel that urge in you, and then you don't have to act it out any longer. But it's a kind of a process for something, if you still have a strong patterns. But otherwise, we can always blame ourselves. It can work the other way. Why I haven't accepted this, and I know this is better for me. And maybe for people who are in this spiritual journey, it's good to be like, it's okay. It's and we make the best out of it. Yeah.
Thank you. I love, love, love what you said at the start with the kissing of the emotions and the thoughts. What an amazing, like, because I'm a very visual person, and I'm just like, oh, there's the thought, and there, and it's just so loving. And I feel lots of times with love, can achieve is not the right word, but it's more like love is the key. A lot of times I think that, or I feel that. And oftentimes with those stronger thoughts, we want to push it away. We don't want to deal with it. We kind of restrict it. And, or even our ego, we kind of like, our ego has to die and needs to go. But if we just accept it and kind of wrap it around and be like, oh, I accept you fully and I kiss you even, welcome. How amazing is that? It feels, even while I talk about it and while you were talking about it, it felt so much more true. I was like, yeah, I really like that view. I don't want anything to die, or, and it's not because my ego is fearful. I don't believe that as in, oh, I don't want to die. It's more, it just doesn't feel right, as like, it feels more as if I would just restrict it again and just push it away and put it in a corner where I don't have to look at it. And so it's not actually gone. But with the love, it's more, oh, come here. So you're part of it. As you said, you're still there and you come up, but I don't have to act on it. I can kiss you away. So I love that. Thanks so much for sharing. I know why I do these interviews, because I always learn something as well. And it's just so pleasant to hear other people's stories, and I'm super curious always, and I really think other people will be inspired, or I know it actually. I believe it, that other people will take something away from it. And I know as well you are planning something, so maybe you want to share a little bit about your projects and what what is it that you are excited about in the future, and other people might also want to contact you or be in contact with you and hear more from you. So how can people contact you and be in contact, or know something about your projects which are upcoming?
Yeah, I have, maybe I became more open, and I don't resist that any longer, like to go out and doing talks, opening up, like just now someone is helping me making the website. People can invite for a talk, and making like retreats. So we can help people in this journey together, and helping them in this awakening process, because it's very needed now. And so I felt like yeah, so now it's something you cannot, it's not something I actually wanted. It's actually not something I really, I enjoyed, like when I talk to you like this. It's actually my first kind of interview. I have said no to, because I didn't feel very comfortable with before camera or talk or even like giving advice. I don't feel for that kind of, because I don't literally feel like this is a teaching kind of. It's something like sharing, and sometimes you just don't know what, it happens, and but there is energy flow to it, and I love it when it happens. And so I have loved last 2 3 years when I attracted people like to engage in the conversations kind of thing, but never like being open to do it in a little larger group. So, like it felt like I'm not open to that, but now I felt like, okay, let me try it out. Yeah. So that's the, otherwise I always like speak to people in, like when I meet them or when they contacted me, I felt like, okay, let's have a conversation, kind of. So now I feel like I was opening to also to others, maybe podcasts. So now it's good that I had this experience sitting in
Yes.
front of
I hope,
webcam,
I
man.
hope so.
So it
That's
went
great.
good. So I felt like if someone else is like wants to hear something, so it's, yeah. I really love to see this in a way like make this teaching. So if one could say teachings or sharings, I see it more like a driving school. Then it's like when we go for a driving school, then when we don't know how to drive, then we get some theories. It's like spiritual teaching can be like a theories. And then we get this kind of a driving circle or whatever it is that you go and learn to drive. And you can literally drive in that safe zone very fast. And we can also think a lot of times that we are a very good driver because there's no distractions at all.
Right.
But I somehow I feel like the real test, the real deepening, the real everything, it will happen when the driver actually comes out and try to drive. And
Like the real streets.
yes, in the real street, and theories also is helpful. And then there comes a point where you again you take it for granted, you don't see anything longer, it's automatic pilot is working again, and then you make stupid things again, then you maybe go for another retreat or whatever. But I see those kind of like going for spiritual retreats and all those things as it's a very profound thing. It deepens us, it gives such a, and then it has to be lived, or it has to be, and there is not such a thing. I don't feel like now I'm the best driver, because it differs. Like in when you drive in Himalayas, it's totally completely different circumstances. And if they come to California, I am not sure that they will get the first, they can drive easily. But and then the opposite also true. They cannot come and drive here, but it takes some time. Then you will struggle a little bit, and then you will. So it's almost like that. So I feel like these practices is can be very profound when we see that it works in our life. And yeah, so I maybe want to, yeah, I'm more open to do like retreats and those kind of things. So I felt, okay, let's do some retreat and talks events in California, but some people have asked for that, and then in India also. And maybe also a little lucky that I have this two traditional, like I'm basically from like the Eastern thing, and then I have lived in the Western. So there is a good kind of a bridge I can, yeah. And also there was a long period when I was to understand for myself. So I want to explore all kind of traditions and teachings. I love like Krishnamurti and all kind of teachers. And even some I connected and some helped me very profoundly. But it helps me now when others are, yeah, when others are in those kind of teachings, I don't have to resist the words or something, but I can take them beyond that.
That's great. It's kind
It
of
feels
like a
like helpful.
language,
Yes,
different language they speak, but you
yes,
speak them now too.
yeah.
That's
Because
very
I was
helpful.
lucky that I didn't came to this realization without any teachings in the beginning. So I don't have so much words to this. And then after this, I can explain it well now, like because of those teachings and this exploration. But I was like, so I see that words are secondary. Like whatever we say, whatever we speak of, it can be very engaged, but it's very helpful to guide, but it should be the living experience right now, just to
Yes.
so to take.
Yes, it's always an energy exchange as well. Yet even now, we being in this Zoom room together, I can feel a different energy than just being me on my own. So there's always this exchange happening. But yeah, so in summary, you are available for retreats. You're open for talks as well. You're currently building your website. And I think once we publish this, your website might be done. So I'm going to link your website link there. I'm going to link all the links you give me so people are able to contact you once they heard your message now and they heard your stories and they want to connect with you and they're like, I want to book him for a talk or maybe do a retreat of his. And maybe you're going to have a newsletter or something so people can be updated there. And I am going to start with you now. Something like a wisdom for the next person, something you would like to share with them, or it can also be a question, kind of a question you want to give them, that person on the way to that really helped you, as in, because I know you asked yourself a lot of questions as well through the journey. It's either a question you'd like to ask the person, or an advice of wisdom. And you just think about it. You will text it to me later. And then so it's a surprise. So the next person, when they come on, they are going to get that question first. And then that's going to start the conversation. And yeah, just for now, thank you so much for being here, presenting yourself as you are, sharing your wonderful energy with me. And do you have anything else you would like to say? Anything you think, oh, we didn't really cover, something you would like to express before we come to an end?
Not really, but it's like I just felt like that there is we sometimes maybe undervalue the importance of when we embark on this journey, that the value of it, because the mind can't just understand it.
True.
And then we feel, but there is a profound thing. So it's something, it's a very valuable thing to get to do those, sometimes some practices, and be lighthearted and don't take it too seriously and like a child, but still like I felt that's it.
That's a perfect last sharing, as in, don't take yourself too serious, be lighthearted. And it's very, very valuable. You speak from experience to go and do that journey and commit to it. And yeah, because then you bath in that peace and you bath in this presence and in this aliveness. So thank you again so much for being here with me. I wish you all the best of luck, and I'm very sure that we're going to hear more of you, and I can't wait. And if you ever need someone for like a yoga teacher for your retreat in California, especially, let me know. And for now, thanks so much and have a wonderful day.
Oh, thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode today. If you know a friend or someone who might benefit from this as well, please do share it. And always feel free to rate my podcast with a 5-star review. Stay awesome and be well. Thank you.